Hey guys, it's Kathy. Thank you for joining me for part 3 of this awesome little Lakehouse journal with my new digital kit. We are going to do some finishing touches in here. I am going to do a voiceover. I've sped up most of it because it takes a long time, and we'll do a flip through at the end. There may or may not be a little music added to this. We'll see. But thanks for being here, and I'll say a little word at the end. Let's get going. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is use the plaid digital, and I put a little bit of stronger coffee dyed paper behind it just to make these a little thicker. And I'm going to use this funky flower die and stamp set to cut out some fun flowers for this. So I'm going to use the Misty stamping platform first and some VersaFine Clear black ink. Just going to get that on there. I thought these would be really cute to use throughout the journal. So I'm going to stamp them first, and then I'm going to die cut, and I think I made a total of like 15 flowers. And they were a very cute addition to the journal. I love doing that with this stamp and die cut, just using a different type of pattern than like a normal flower. It's just a lot of fun. So let's get those die cut. I just want to show you these. See, aren't those great? This is such a great set. I inked up a couple of the tops, but these don't really even need ink. They're just fun and funky and cute. So I'm going to add them to my little tray of ephemera here. I always have a little tray going of my little different pieces I'm going to use when I'm doing a journal. And now I decided I found this really cute snail. It's Global Land. It's a snail and a fern, I think. And I just had this idea because it's kind of like a little thing you'd find in the forest, right? With all the moss and maybe in a little creek or something. So I'm going to stamp that snail on watercolor paper with just some of this Portobello ink. And then I'm going to watercolor it and fussy cut it. So I'm using the Tim Holtz watercolor pencils with a little paintbrush and just kind of going in and doing some shades of brown. And I think one is frayed burlap, and I'm not even sure. One is walnut. Just, you can take any kind of little brown shades and kind of layer them in. I think Rusty Hinge is the rusty colored one. And yeah, I just thought this was very cute. And once we get that done and dried, I am going to do 2 of them. Juliana Michaels, the way she stamps and when she watercolors leaves it right on the Misty, because then you can go back in, restamp it after you've watercolored and just bring back those lines. So I'm going to just take a little bit of clear embossing powder and just make their shells shiny. So I'm using that Recollections embossing pen, and I'm just going to go over, put a little bit of clear embossing powder on there, and get those snails shined up. I actually did it twice because I wanted them to have a really shiny shell. And I like how they came out a lot. See? Isn't that cute? So I'll get those fussy cut, and I don't know, I'm just going to use those like on a cluster or on a pocket or something. It's just something that I thought I would put in here and show you guys because it's something I wanted to do. We'll get those inked up. All right. So yes, I did. I put one of those on this little pocket. I just flipped up the bottom of that coffee dyed paper, used part of my digital, and made a couple of cute pockets. And I'm just using some of the leftover plaid fabric to make a couple pockets here that I will glue into the journal. And here's the other one. You gotta love the plaid, right? It's so cute. So we'll add those. And now I'm going to go through the journal. And normally, I have to say this is backwards for me. Normally, I do all of my stamping and embossing. We're just going to emboss a letter there with some Gina K Gold. Normally, I do this before I sew in my signatures, but because I wanted to roll out my digital kit, I knew that I would be doing this after the fact. And it's a little bit painful to do it this way because, you know, you're sliding your powder, hopefully not getting it on the pages. But it works. It's just something that I like doing. But I mean, one advantage of doing it afterwards is you know where you're placing things. But I do usually like stenciling and embossing ahead of time. So as I go, I might be gluing in a couple of pockets and little pieces, just looking at things. I wanted to do kind of like a little brick wall here. So I'm using the Ranger Glaze as a medium to hold down my embossing powder. I think I'm using frayed burlap here. And remember with this Ranger embossing powder, it's translucent, so you can still see the design in the back, and that's what I love about that. So I've got that little airmail envelope on there, and I'm just thinking about what I could put on that little stone wall, and I remembered that I had this squirrel that's part of the digital kit. So I'm just going to layer up a little base for that with some music paper and that little wreath. And we'll just put that on there as like a little decoration. Get that on there. And I'm going to put a little bit of lace on the top of it. Yep. So yeah, I'll just go through every page and either do a little embossing and I've kind of trimmed things down to just show you guys the things that I thought would be of interest. So yeah, we're just gonna put that somewhere. I'm thinking about where to place that and just decided to put it right down there. I just try on every page to have something interesting and cohesive. Not always cohesive, but I found a nice little stamp to put on there. But that's the fun of junk journals, right? You're just adding different pieces of ephemera and how fun. It's my little owl from my kit. Little tuck spot there. I'll go back and add something in there. So I had that fish and a little piece of leftover paper from a folio background I didn't use. So I thought, well, let's just make a little pad of paper here for journaling. So that's what I did. I keep a little pile of paper for paper pads in journals clipped together, and I found that and thought that let's pull out a few pieces that are kind of fun. So that's like a piece of vellum coffee dyed music paper, which is cool. So I put that on the top and just put some pages underneath it that you can journal on, and got that all stapled and glued together. Yep, that's going to go right on there. All right, just adding a belly band with a little bit of ephemera in the middle there. The colors of this kit really make me happy. They're just really fun, vibrant colors. And then you'll see me start layering in a lot of these flowers that I die cut. in different places. Yeah, I wanted to do a little stencil on here. And I decided to get bold and use some candied apple Ranger embossing powder, because I've definitely got red in here. I thought that would be fun. But you can see how much more challenging it is to do it after the fact. Here we go. I decided to do that whole page. I love this letter stencil. I don't even remember where I got it. But I did the whole page, and I decided to get bold again and use, I think it's like mermaid. I'm sorry guys, I can't remember the name of that. But it's a nice bright aqua blue. And I just went for it with that. And I love the way this page came out. So now I wanted to switch gears and make some clusters. So I have my little piles I'm showing you. I've got my neutrals, I've got my colored paper, and my focal points, and a little bit of lace. And I just kind of get everything gathered around and start putting together these clusters. So once I get my general idea of what I'm doing, I just start gluing things, because it's a lot of moving pieces. And yeah, I think clusters could be one of my favorite things to do. I really like collaging, but it's actually kind of like collaging. I love making clusters. It's just building interest, adding different focal points, and yeah. So I tried to use a piece of the digital kit in every cluster. Pulled out a bunch of labels and things that I thought would work. And I usually stamp something black on there as well. So I thought this might be fun for you guys to see. Tell me in the comments if you're liking this. I really tried to cut out the things that I thought, you don't need to see a whole lot of gluing and inking, but some of it I did want to show you my process, so I left it in there. And I hope that I hope you're enjoying this. I had a lot of fun making this journal for sure. Okay, there's cluster number 2. I kind of go back in and stamp these more once I'm done building them. And I just think clusters add so much to journals. You can use them as tuck spots, or put them on the front of a pocket. But it's just nice to make up a bunch of these when you're doing a journal, or even just make them for your stash. I actually went through my cluster stash and looked, but I just didn't have the right color schemes I wanted for this journal. So I decided to make some. It's kind of like putting a puzzle piece together. You just keep turning things around and moving them until you get what you think looks right. And yeah. I didn't add any buttons to these, but I do like adding buttons. Here's a little piece of a map. So I took some of my fun elements I wanted to use and I put glossy accents on them. So this turtle, I did the frog, the turtle, I did the lobster. I just think it's fun to have something shiny on a cluster. So I went ahead and did that. Put a little tag on there. All right, I think this could be the last one that I'm going to do. And like once you get in the groove with making these clusters, you could sit there and do this for hours. It is so much fun. All right, so here we go. I'm just going to go back through and add some black ink in the way of either a little postage stamp or a number, just to add a little black to these. There's my clusters. All right, so I decided to just kind of go through and start gluing in some ephemera. And I thought one of those clusters would look great on that bag. I will go back through and fill these pockets with some of my tags and some of my ephemera that I have ready for this. Oh, here's this page. This is fun. This is like a vintage picture of a bear trying to get into a car at a camping ground. So I decided to make a little pocket out of it. And put right on that page. And I'm just going to do like a two-way pocket. So I decided to just make the top, the back of that a pocket, plus a little pocket in the front. And I like that page a lot. Just gluing in my clusters. So then I go through, you can see my little yellow tabs. I go through and actually say, okay, let's do more embossing here. Let's stamp here. Let's put a pocket here. It's just kind of how I do it. So I went back through and did some tuck spots. I used some of Tim Holtz collage strips and some of my own collage strips that I've made. All right, so I'm going to go back through and I'm going to take some of my foam stamps and I'm going to do a little bit more stamping and embossing. I'm just not ready yet to call this done. So I'm going to use some of these nesting circle stamps from PM Artists. I use those for jelly plating a lot. Again, not the best way to do it when your pages are together, but it's doable. Just trying to add extra interest to every page. I love these little square stamps. They're very cool. More of my gold. This is just a go-to for me. I love these distress numbers, and I really like how they look in a journal. with some of the Gina K Gold. They just add a lot. I decided to use one of these. So I just use VersaFine Clear. I think it's called Arctic Blue. It came out a lot grayer than I thought, but I still like it. It's almost like a blue-gray. And I decided to just take a strip of one of my digitals and just put it down the side there. All these extra things take a lot of time, but I think they just really make a journal special. And see how it would be hard to kind of plan out where to do all those things when your pages are still loose. But oh, this was fun. I love this rose stamp, PM Artist as well. And I decided to do some Gina K Gold on there. And I thought that came out really special. So some of the ephemera I used was from other projects. So I went back to my 4th of July. I had done some kids with little red, white, and blue, and they worked perfect. Little portraits of kids, patriotic kids, and added some of that into this. I'm not going to emboss this. I just wanted to add a little base for that flower. So that came out great. I like how that looks on that page, and there's plenty of room for journaling around that as well. My little coffee dyed doily there. And then I used some crackling campfire with that number and a little clear embossing. All right, guys, I'm winding this up. I hope you've enjoyed this Lakehouse digital kit and the process of me making my journal. It's been a whole lot of fun for me. Please visit my Etsy page. It's called Inspire by Kathleen, and it just helps support me with my materials and my time and effort. And anyway, I love you guys. Please comment and let me know how you like this video. Love you. Bye.